On the Blog Podcast, we are back. We are back again and again. And I always say this that we have someone special with us. But today, this is someone that I have been trying to get on the podcast for 2 years now. And this man, let me not even waste too much time because I just want to get straight into the introduction and pick his brain as much as possible. This is an international student who also traveled thousands of miles away from home, just with a dollar and a dream. Just enduring the harshest of winters, just because he wants to make a life for himself. I have a hustler, a former TEDx speaker, the owner of a seven-figure business, CEO of Outreach Genius, Mr. David Owasi. Thank you so much for being here with us. This means so much to not just to me, not just to our team, but our entire audience, and we have a global audience right now. Thank you so much. How are you feeling today, this wonderful weekend?
Really good, my friend. A pleasure to be here. And thank you for the opportunity. I know we should have done this a while ago, but life is busy. Things are happening.
Happy to chat. I think this is the perfect time to do because we would have not had all this fancy equipment the first time we asked you to come.
That's right.
And like I mentioned, I spoke to you just before we started the podcast. I always say this, and Jeffrey's always angry at me for saying this, but I feel like I have to say this. We do this podcast so that we can have conversations with people like you. We have a lot of us who travel thousands of miles from our home, and we come here to start a life, and we want to talk to successful people that have achieved some sort of success like you, so that it can inspire other people that are coming up. And I just want to start a little bit about from the beginning, and I've already done a lot of research on you. You came to Canada so many years ago. I just wanted to talk a little bit about why you came, what did you come here to do? I know you came to study computer science, but just a brief intro in that regards.
Yeah, absolutely, a pleasure. And so my name is David Owasi, founder at Outreach Genius. We're a software company where we use AI to help businesses generate more leads and sales. So really consequential problem we're solving. But my journey started way back. So I started, I think, 14 years now in Canada, and of course from Nigeria. And my story is very much similar to most people's story. Grew up in a very challenging financial environment. There was issues with employment with my parents. They lost their job, which made life very, very difficult. And we knew that going out of Nigeria was the path for us. So, we tried different angles. We tried the UK and other countries, but Canada was the perfect opportunity for us. So we came out here. I was just barely, I was 17, almost 18. So just barely getting there. But in Nigeria, I already was in Lautech. So I was studying microbiology.
Wow.
But I knew microbiology was not what I was interested in. But in Nigeria system, if you pass JAMB, all you have to do, they will just give you what to study.
Yep, they'll tell you where to go to.
You have almost no option. So from there, I was able to start to really understand what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And I knew that I didn't want to, I love science, but I loved computers most because I took a computer course at Lautech. I was like, this is what I was interested in. And then coming to Canada, it was very clear. So, going to university, studied computer science. But I also understood that computer science was great. Yeah. But my vision was to be, someone like Mr. Bill Gates. That was.
Okay, you were going for the Bill Gates vision.
That was the idea. I actually wrote a whole rap about this. Started with the dream to build like Mr. Gates.
Oh, okay.
Writing codes in HTML, just like the greats.
Oh my, someone framed that. Okay. The studio album never released though.
No, we actually released a song.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we did.
Oh my God.
It was awesome. I'll send the link later on.
Oh, for sure.
So, but I knew that when I started computer science, that was a great skill. I needed something in the real world outside of the classroom to really bring the skills of computer science and make action out of it, which is to build a business, something like that. And that is where I started a franchise of, it's called College Pro. It's a program where you basically paint houses. Yeah. And, you had to go out and knock on doors, sell, try to hustle, hire people, train them, make money, deal with problem clients, communication, all of that. I learned in 4 years, and we did just shy of $1 million in revenue in 4 years from that College Pro business. And that is really where, I call it the school of hard knocks, where I really learned what the real world was like and how to really have goals, business goals, and how to pursue them while dealing with all the complexities of life, classes, sisters,
Yeah,
all the other stuff. So that's the journey, and that's how
Wow.
I went from Nigeria to, starting my first business, learning the things that I need to do in business to grow. And from there, of course, the measure of a business is also the measure of the man himself.
Yeah.
So your business, you can't outgrow your business from a place of your personal development.
Yep.
So the level of your development personally will show the type of business you're running.
Interesting.
And that was like a very interesting way of growing personally myself, embracing more responsibilities, and being able to like take on more pain. Because excellence is the capacity to take on pain.
Oh, interesting.
That's really what excellence is. You have one, on the other side, you have someone like Elon Musk, and his ability to take on pain is way higher.
Way high, yep.
And you're just like learning to increase your capacity to take on pain, which means you're doing bigger things, you're taking more risk,
Yep.
you're doing more challenging things.
Interesting.
So it's been a lot
So
of
even
fun.
talking a bit about the first painting business, and I will put a photo of him actually doing the painting business because so you guys know he's not just saying things. What made you just go and start? Was it like the want to make more money? Was it the fact that you felt you could do more? Were you like were you a student at that time? What was like what was your mindset at that time?
Yeah, so I just finished my first year of university back then.
Oh,
I knew
interesting.
I was hungry. So
Okay.
that was like I was hungry, I was reading. So it's always very interesting that if you want to achieve something, you have to read about the people who have achieved that thing. And from there, you have to find out, okay, they didn't just get there magically. They had a beginning period. And what was that journey like? What did they do? How did they expand themselves? How did they put themselves in the path of opportunities and luck? Of
Yeah.
course, they worked hard
Yep.
to get there. And that's what I was doing initially. I was reading all the greats, all the greats biographies, everyone. Isaac Newton, Elon Musk, I read his biography, Bill Gates, like all of them. And I just realized that, okay, you have to start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Get busy.
Interesting. Just get busy.
And for me, getting busy was, but I also needed money.
Yeah.
So I have to find a way to like align both of getting busy, trying to work hard and build skills. And that's the most important thing. When you get busy, you build the skill. Even if what you're doing is not really valuable in quotes, because you might not think it's valuable, it's the skill of doing something,
Interesting.
researching, putting your mind to something, a task, and just like following it through. And being able to prove and demonstrate to yourself that when you promise yourself something,
Yeah.
you're going to see it through. That builds a sort of muscle in you, because all you just have to focus on is, what do I actually want? Because if I know how to like get things done by
Yeah.
doing stuff to get things done, by just figuring out my way,
Yeah.
just researching here, reading here, calling someone here, and learning to figure out a way to solve problems, then it doesn't matter what it is you want in the future. If you've built that skill, it becomes just another process.
Another
for you.
process for you. So that's actually really, really interesting. So what you're trying to say is like, even other than before you even get to the conversation about the value you're bringing to people and or whatever, it's just learning that hard skill of actually putting your head down and just getting something done.
Correct.
And fulfilling promises to yourself. I actually saw something about that, about like before you can go out and stand confident and fulfill and say you're going to make promises to different people or different organizations or companies, that you have to keep those promises to yourself. You have to build that muscle and say, okay, I'm going to learn how to paint houses, for example, in your case, and actually go out and do it. Like, it's not like you're obviously not painting the houses right now because you found more lucrative ways of making money, but then
Correct.
that skill, that muscle that you built in painting houses at the beginning is still the same muscle you're using you're applying in other businesses. That's actually really an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, it very much is. There are two core skills one needs to learn to excel. The first core skill is you need to know how to build.
Okay.
Now, building can mean many things. So let's think of 4 levers of leverage.
Okay.
When you're learning how to build. The first lever is you need to know how to use code or software or
Yeah.
some sort of like technology. It doesn't actually mean you have to like actually write the code.
Code, yeah.
But you can have like no code tools. You can have website building.
Yep.
Like you need a core skill that leverages software.
Yeah.
That is very important. Of course, we have AI. That is the big lever right now.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is media. So media is how do you reach the masses with your message. So you need to figure out a way to combine your understanding of software and media. So YouTube, Instagram,
Yeah.
like writing on LinkedIn. As you see, I always write on
Yeah.
social media all the time because you need to like have people know what you're doing.
Yep.
So, and then the third thing is hiring people, working with people,
Yeah.
partnering with people. You need to figure out a way to like sell your ideas to other people. Because most times you want to do something important, you can't just do all of them by yourself. You
Yep,
need people
yep.
to help in the collaboration. And then the last thing is capital. You need to know how to find money when you don't have it. So how do I, take a loan? How do I apply for a loan? What qualifies me to be able to apply for a loan? How do I get a credit card so I can like start putting things into action? Because you need money most times to do things.
To do a lot of things. And
Yeah.
that's interesting.
So you need to know how to learn those 4 things to build something.
I'm gonna take notes actually because I got questions. I'm listening. Sorry, I'm
Yes.
just thinking.
So to build something is a core skill. Second skill is to sell. Because when you've built something using all those 4 levers, you've used technology, you've used social media, you've been able to collaborate with other people, and you've been able to raise some sort of money somehow, then you can really have something to really build something and solve a problem. And then when you do that, you need to know how to sell. Sell is like, okay, get a first customer, get someone to like try it out. And then when you learn both of those skills, then you're very dangerous because you can really do anything. It's just a matter of what I want to do.
What do you now want to do? That's crazy because again, what I'm really pulling out of this is like it's like you said the core skills, like the 4 different skills you've mentioned now, and it's not really about what you want to do, because what you want to do really doesn't matter. Because I'm focusing on that part because I've spoken to a lot of people at this point in my life, and I love speaking with people, and I've found out that majority of people always say they're not doing something because they don't know what to do. And what I'm really pulling out of this conversation so far is that what you want to do doesn't really matter, because you're still going to have to apply the skills of knowing how to sell. You're still going to apply the skills of knowing how to build that thing. You're going to apply the skills of working with people, hiring people, and et cetera, et cetera. So I guess one big takeaway we can have so far is that you don't have to have your life figured out. You don't have to say, this is exactly what I'm going to do. This is the exact product I'm going to build. Focus on, like, just get started, get busy on something, put your head down and start making that thing happen and learning how to sell it, how to use the media, how to put that thing out there. So I'm going to come back on that media because I have a personal question in regards to putting yourself out there. But then I feel this question is kind of redundant, but because did you always feel like when you were, like after first year, you already started a business? Was that always in you? Like you always felt like you were going to always do more, like a 9 to 5 was just not you? Or what was it? What was that feeling in you? How would you have described yourself in that mind? Because a lot of people we know, if I'm going to speak, a lot of people, it's fear that's holding them back. But then, did you feel that fear? Did you feel?
That's always fear.
Okay.
The most important thing is clarity.
Okay.
So clarity comes from understanding and knowledge.
Okay.
And knowledge comes from like observing things around you and being very clear in your mind about what you want.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem with most people. They really don't know what they want. Because if you don't know what you want, then anything by default is what you want.
Interesting. Yeah.
So if you're very clear about what you want, the type of life you want to live, and you don't have to compare yourself to anyone, just be honest with yourself. Like, what do I want? Do I want like a very stable 9 to 5 life, and then I retire? If that's what you want, then that's what you want.
That's fine, right?
And of course, that's not the most ideal, but for someone like myself, I envisioned in myself, really having a great life. We only have one life to live, and I want it to be great. And I've had this amazing opportunity to come to Canada, where I can bring this to life because there's opportunities around me.
Yep.
So I was very clear about the type of life I want to live, the type of influence. I mean, I have dreams to build a space mining company.
Wow.
Like, that is my dream. So I have very clear understanding. Of course, you have dreams. There's no cost to have dreams.
Yeah.
It's free to have dreams. So why not have the biggest
dream?
Right? So when you have that dream now, everything else becomes relative to that dream. All the paths you need to take, the experiences you need to have, the people you need to meet, the places you need to go. So, for example, I travel to the US for trips. They're very expensive trips to go to, but I understand the types of rooms I want to be in related to the dreams I have. If you want to build space companies, and that's like your dream 20 years from now, you have to be meeting movers and shakers of technology.
Exactly.
You need to put yourself in scenarios where accidents can happen, great accidents can happen. And I've had that happen a lot of times. So for me, it's all about being clear about what you really want.
Yeah.
And when you're clear about what you want, then every decision you make is relative to that goal.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you don't get to that goal all in one day, but every small little steps is getting
you closer and closer and closer.
And you're saying no to different things. So for me, it was not even about fear. It was more about, what do I need to do to get to this goal? Well, I need to learn how to run businesses. Where's the most easiest place I can learn how to run business, where I have mentorship and coaching and support and peer group and everything. And that painting business, became like the perfect
It was
opportunity.
just the first
for me.
opportunity for you at that time.
And it was pain. It was extreme pain. But then excellence is the capacity to take on pain. The most excellent
Yep.
people, I was coming here and I was listening to a podcast about Isaac Newton, and it was all about how can you sit down, take pain, don't complain, and keep charging towards your goal. And when you're able to combine clarity in your outcome and the goal and the vision of what you want for your life, and you're able to then find opportunities around you that brings you ever closer to that goal,
Yeah.
then you start building momentum. You start building momentum, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, where because you've taken action, right, in faith. If you
Yeah.
like, you're believing in that outcome, you've taken the action, and then you do something and it works. Like, oh, okay, so not a big win, but I got the person to say yes. I got a co-founder. I got someone to agree to let me do this thing for them, whatever it is. I got my first podcast guest. Then all of a sudden you're like, okay, let's keep going.
Let's keep going. You build on that momentum.
And then that's how you start just building and moving forward. At least for me, that's what's happened.
Yeah, I actually have a picture. I know you mentioned pretty briefly about your time in university before you come in here. You did microbiology.
That's right.
Are these two different people to you, or I'm going to show you guys the picture in large. Are these two different people to you, or are they still the same person?
The same person who's grown.
Who's grown? The
Yes.
key word is growth for sure.
It's growth. So it's all about evolving into the best version of yourself. And if you've watched that Michael Jordan, The Last Dance,
Yep.
they talked about he's battling himself. He's the opponent. He's not trying to be better than someone else.
Yep.
Like, as long as he becomes better than his version of yesterday, then he's winning.
He's winning.
And that's a game you can't lose. So for me, I focus on, how can I be better than the 2 years version of me? Where I look at 2 years version, I'm like, oh, that boy didn't know too much.
Yeah.
But no, he's grown.
You just have to be able to look back and say, okay, at least today I'm better than how I was yesterday. And if you just keep having that mindset, okay, how do I make my tomorrow be better than my today? I guess, like you said, it's just a one foot in front of the other and thing,
right.
and you just keep growing in that way. So now, if we're going to talk about stick on growth and where you are today, I know you've mentioned your company, Outreach Genius, which is focusing on AI. What can you talk a little bit about? Like, AI is like almost like a buzzword now. So if you could just talk a little bit more about what you're doing, the opportunities that you feel that are out there, what you think people should be doing to capitalize on, on the buzz. I don't know if capitalize on the buzz is the right way to put it, but if you get my drift, so if you can talk a little bit about the opportunities you think are out there.
Absolutely. So remember how we talked about the 4 levers of leverage
Yep.
under the category of learn how to build. So,
Yep.
learn how to build, learn how to sell.
Yep.
Learn how to build, we talked about 4 levers of leverage. We talked about software.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about media. We talked about working with people. And we talked about finding money.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 levers. If you can figure those out, you can build anything. You can do anything you want, really. So under the lever of software, AI will be there.
Yeah.
AI is just under iteration in software evolution, right?
Yeah.
And we've gone from you can build websites to you can build amazing, powerful SaaS applications.
Yeah.
And now we've gone to a stage where you can bring artificial intelligence, which can allow you to automate and figure out things
Yeah.
that normal human beings are supposed to be able to do in the past. So what AI has done is at least this is the way we're using that Outreach Genius.
Yeah.
So we've identified key problems that have always existed. And that's a beautiful way of thinking about how do I combine technology and to make money.
Yeah.
It's all about finding problems that are already established problems.
Yep.
You're not trying to create a new problem. The problem that people are always going to have.
Yep.
So you want to always find those kind of problems and the ways to observe what are problems that I have. So the problem I chose to solve, to really obsess the last 4 years on,
Yep.
is the problem of lead generation and sales in businesses.
Okay.
So before you start even thinking about a technology, that's a wrong way to approach it.
Yep.
You need to think about it from a standpoint of what kind of problem is interesting to me. Because when you have interesting problems, then you're going to find different interesting ways to solve it. And
Yeah.
so for me, the problem was lead generation. And then I started to look for ways I can use technology, automation, email, LinkedIn, paid ads, all these solutions that were available
Yeah.
to solve the problem. And then we got some success, but it was nothing like super significant.
Yep.
Until we combined so we've already built like this amazing technology stack that processes about 300 million B2B and B2C records.
Wow.
We identify anonymous visitors coming to your website. using like the IP address, using like their device IDs. Like we built a lot of complex tech trying to solve this problem, but it was just not quite there yet. And then once we combined AI to that solution we've already built with voice, now we had some very interesting results, because now you had this data that we already had and all these insights. We track, for example, 200,000 intent signals per day to identify like across 21,000 categories, people who are interested in buying your products. Very interesting algorithms. But then we now take that insight and we then use a voice AI to actually call that person and be able to have a conversation to qualify them for our offer, to make them an offer, and to have them book sales appointments to talk about how we can help them solve that problem. That was the bomb, because now we had scale. We had all this data, and we had an AI agent who is never tired, who never sleeps, who is never emotional. It does exactly what we tell it to do, and it's able to always keep calling people and having conversations and providing actual value to businesses. So for us, that was like a huge unlock for us. So that's how you should think about AI. Find a problem that you are just so frustrated about as the ideal scenario, or find a problem that other people around you are so frustrated about, and then look for existing solutions that actually kind of works. In this case, sales cold calling works. Just call people out of the blue, make them an offer, right? But how do I then use AI to automate what is already working? Because that allows you to do two things. It allows you to drop down the price so you can charge way cheaper, and then allows you to scale. Meaning that you don't have to add more bodies to solve that problem.
To solve the problem,
So that was really what we unlocked, and that's how you should think about AI. Is technology that solves a problem that exists, and then allows me to like find a unique angle that the market has not seen before.
As a software engineer as well, I want to just learn, like there's so much information out there, right? And I'm just thinking, like, how do you kind of narrow it down? What is anything, do you have anything to say to people like us who are just, because they might be thinking, oh, you have so many years of experience under your belt, that's why it's so easy for you. But is there anything you can say to us that are just probably starting out in our careers and trying to build something?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the first way to think about it is to start with the problem. So what is the problem that you're actually interested in? Because excellence comes from obsession. So it's not just from like hitting your head against the wall. Like it has to be something you're really interested in. Something that just because you're thinking about it, you're going to be up at like 2 a.m. just working on it because you're really just very curious to like solve this thing. It could be editing a video, it could be creating content. It doesn't matter what it is. So I would start from the problem that keeps you obsessed. And then once you've done that, the next step is what's like plan B? So like so you can go from A to Z. So the Z is like the outcome of what that would look like once you're done with it. But what's step B? What's step C? What's step D? And that could be, for example, if you want to build something that uses ChatGPT, well, how can I connect to OpenAI's API system?
That should be step B.
How can I learn that? Now, you don't have to learn code. If you can't code, then it's like, what are tools out there that can help me do this? And you can literally go on ChatGPT and ask it, what are tools out there that exist on the internet that help me connect to ChatGPT? And it will say, oh, you can use Zapier. You can use this tool. Okay, how do I do that? And then it gives you step-by-step instructions. So when you have a problem you want to solve and you have an outcome of what you want the solution to look like, then it becomes very easy to take that next step over and over again. And then as you do that, remember we talked about those 4 levers of leverage. You want to start thinking of how do I combine them. You obviously want to start with software because that's the biggest lever, biggest bad tool you can pull out. And the next thing is media. How do I start telling people about this thing? How do I start sending people DMs if I need to like get my first customers who are interested in this, in me solving this problem for them? And then when you learn media, that's a big skill. How do I create content? There's a whole learning there. And then from there, the next thing is collaboration, labor. How do I find other people who can help me bring this thing to life? So that's where a little bit of sales has to come in. You got to pitch to people and say, hey, this is a vision I envision. Can you join me? Can you help me with this? And of course, you hear a lot of no's, but you get that yes as well. And that's how I got my co-founder, who is like an excellent chief technology officer, because I pitched him my idea, my vision. And then last thing is capital. How do you raise money? How do you find resources? How do you get loans? How do you get the resources you need to bring your vision to life? And that means going to events where you're meeting potential investors, getting close to the bank to really understand what do they want from me, trying to figure out ways you can get ahead to get some financial support. So those are the 4 ways I'll think about going from A to Z and going step to step.
That's really, really interesting. And yeah, we are really, really running out of time here, but I really enjoyed the conversation. I really love everything you've said, like you're just pouring out your experience. And I also, before I let you go, I want us to talk a little bit about the wealth building up portion of it. I know not everyone is into software and everyone is into AI talk, but a lot of people would also want to build wealth in their own way, in their own field. So, what are some general things, if I could just get you to spit some general things out that you feel like we should know about wealth building?
So wealth comes from leverage. So leverage is basically being able to 100x one unit of input. So
Okay.
you have 1 unit of efforts and you're able to get 100 unit of output. That is leverage. So if you're really serious about building wealth, you have to think from the lens of leverage. What can I do right now that can give me 100x output?
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a 9 to 5 job, the problem with that is that you're exchanging your time for a specific unit of input.
Yeah.
So you give them 1 hour, they give you $30.
Yeah.
It can never go up. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you can get bumps, $35, $40, but it's not really going to get you out there.
Yeah.
So you need to start thinking, what can I do that I still put that 1 unit of hour and it gives me 100x output?
Yep.
Now, sometimes that path is not clear. So the first thing you need to think about is skills. What skill can I add to myself to learn that if I put 1 hour into that skill and I put it into the world, it gives me 100 units of value.
Yeah.
So for example, creating content. If I create one piece of content, 100,000 people could see it. One person could see it too. 1 million people could see it
see
too.
it. Yeah.
It doesn't change that unit of how of work
Yeah.
I've put in. So you need to figure out what skills can I start to learn right now. And also, it could also mean investment, right? If you have
Yeah.
money to invest, then it's like, can I buy a business? Can I, start an Airbnb? Can I do something
Yeah.
where, again, I'm putting just that 1 hour of work, and I can get 100x output?
Yeah.
And when you think about things from that lens, first principles, then it becomes very clear how to choose opportunities relative to your skills and relative
Yeah.
to the goals you want to get.
That's a pretty good way to because you always go into all these social media posts and everyone's always talking about where should I invest in first, and the first thing they always say is invest in yourself. And then it's sometimes obviously it sounds like the cliche, but it's like you're reiterating here. It's like it is good advice. Like the first thing you're gonna do is, okay, how can I go from earning 20-25 bucks an hour, 15 in some cases, to having creating one, like for you give an example where you could create one content and 100 people could see it, 100,000 people could see it, 10,000 people, like it's no longer fixed as opposed to like a 9 to 5. So how you have to now start asking yourselves those deep questions. And I know that's just the first step of it. That's just like the first layer, and there's so many extra layers to it. But then I do have one final personal question that I want to ask you, and I'm hoping that you can give. I know we can still talk after either way,
Yes.
but before we wrap, it's like putting yourself out there. You've spoken a lot about media, and I've always been following your page for a long time now, for years now. I've been seeing you. You're so good at putting yourself out there, sharing your journey. Like, I want to also be that. I also want to do that, but then I like, how are you sure that your journey, maybe this is just me in my head, so I'll just say it how it is in my head. In my head, I'm like thinking, how am I sure my journey is giving value to someone else? There's really no reason to put something out there if there's no 100% guarantee you're giving someone else value. So that's kind of where I am in terms of like sharing my journey or putting what I'm working on out as content, or so I'm just kind of curious how your own mindset is on
Absolutely.
putting yourself out there and just sharing your journey.
So the lens to which we look at things changes everything.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very important that when you approach things, you're very intentional about the perspective.
Yeah.
So the perspective about creating content is not necessarily, it's more for me about skills.
Yeah.
So it's a skill to be able to like create content.
Yeah.
So for me, anything that happens is a bonus. People like it, it bombs, it's a bonus. I
Yeah.
don't care about the outcome in that perspective. Of course, I want my content to do well.
Yeah.
But I see it primarily as I am building a skill of creating content.
Interesting.
Of articulating my thoughts, putting it out there and packaging it and seeing what works.
Yeah.
And being able to communicate my ideas. It's all about the ideas and communication. So for me, when I'm writing every day, I see it more as an exercise. I'm honing my craft.
Yeah. That's
The outcome is
Okay.
a bonus if it goes really well.
Cool.
But the key is making sure that I can communicate my ideas, because one day I will have a great idea to communicate, a world-changing idea to communicate. But I've spent the last 10 years practicing how to communicate
the
my
ideas. Oh, I see.
And it's more about the consistency and the habit of building that muscle.
muscle. I see.
So from there, everything else becomes secondary. This post does really well, and I've had posts that do really well. I've had posts that I look silly because it was just whatever. But all of those are just things that happen along the way. So that's how I think about it,
And you've just been honestly been so amazing. And thank you so much again on behalf of myself and the team and then all our audience. I'm just gonna say thank you because it's been a wonderful conversation. I hope we can keep in touch and we'll definitely spark more conversations and we'll be looking out for more of Outreach Genius. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for your wisdom and we wish you all the best. And thank you again. This has been On the Block Podcasts and we are out.